But yeah, with these 18 games left, Ethan, we're going to have some new lineups. So what are your thoughts on this? I wrote some things down, but I'll dish it to you. What are your kind of thoughts on the lineups for the rest of the season?
Oh man. I mean, I guess we'll see Chris Paul at point guard,
Right.
Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, and I'm hoping for Jeremy Sohan at the 4 and Bismack Biyombo at the 5 as our starting unit. And then for the backup unit, I would like to give Blake Wesley and Stephon Castle minutes at the 1 and 2 off the bench.
Hmm.
Personally, I think Stephon, as much as we want to see him start at this point, it's more important to see what Devin's able to do in a more significant role because I think we know what Stephon is. So I'm going to keep him off the bench next to Blake. Keldon, of course, Sandro Mamukelashvili, and unfortunately, I guess Julian Champagne's going to have to play backup 4. But I'm assuming we'll probably run a real tight 9-man rotation where Jeremy will ultimately be kind of a backup center, and we'll kind of rotate him and Bismax or not stack their minutes, but keep them off the floor at the same time, other than when they're coming into the game, if that makes sense.
Muhammad says Blake Wesley starting. 3 exclamation points. Here we go, baby. It's funny you mentioned that. As much as Blake may not be starting, that was a thought that I had here, Ethan, because what's going to hurt throwing him out there at backup point guard? Like, if we don't play him, then we're just not going to get an eval on him. And obviously, with the Aaron being shut down, I mean, I get they're going to be out there trying to win, but the roster is not set up to win. So,
For
and if
sure.
we lose, if we could throw Blake Wesley out there and say the rest of the season, these last 18 games, he just looks, I hope this isn't the case, but he just looks horrible. Like, that doesn't hurt the Spurs. At the end of the day, that actually helps the Spurs get a better draft pick.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could shut down Chris Paul, or I just don't think Chris would want to come off the bench right now, especially since we drafted him to play, right? And I would just want to know where his mentality is because like if he were 32, yeah, shut him down. He's got next year, but if he's not going to play next year, or he's not going to be a Spur next year, I think you kind of have to let him start at this point.
Sorry to interrupt you. Just want to clarify. I did not, if I misspoke there, my bad. I did not mean to advocate for starting Blake. I was saying I was
Oh,
advocating for Blake getting backup rotation
oh
minutes.
no, for sure, yeah, heavy
That
backup minutes, yes,
that's what I was saying there. I was
I'm
saying,
with you there.
yeah, do not. I'm not saying Blake Wesley should start. But with the way that the season is going, I definitely get Muhammad's humor there for sure.
I mean, Blake Wesley's my dude. If anyone wants him to start, it's me. But I just don't know if it happens.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I was getting at, is more for those backup minutes. Let's get an eval on Blake playing some real reps at point guard. Let's look at these 18 games. Yes, the circumstances are what they are, but if we don't play him, then it's like we're not even going to know what his value could
For
potentially
sure.
be. Anyways, yeah. So in regards to your lineups, I had something a little bit different, but honestly, after hearing you, I would rather start Jeremy. Um, I understand that there could maybe be, Bismack and Jeremy, the shooting struggles. But again, at this point, does it really even matter? you
Oh my
know,
god,
I
whatever.
would rather start Jeremy just so he gets more minutes because that's more important long term, as much as I love Harrison Barnes. But what I wrote down just to throw out another lineup, and this was more kind of what I thought they would do than what I would do necessarily, because there were even some things when I was looking at this lineup, I'm like, I'd still really like to try Devin off the bench. But this is just my guess for what they would do. Obviously, like you said, Chris Paul is the starting point guard. That's pretty easy. I have Stephon Castle moving to the starting lineup as the 2, and then Devin as the 3, where they've been playing him. And then I had Harrison and Bismack. That was really, the only difference. And then
I,
off the bench, or my bad.
no, you're good. I was going to say I could see that as well, but keep going.
Yeah, Blake, Julian, Keldon, Jeremy, and Mamu.
Yeah, that one definitely works better than mine in terms of like rotational, like having a 4 and a 5 off the bench with Jeremy and Mamu. Like that definitely fits better than a Julian Mamu at the 4 and 5 with my alternative. So I mean, I'm not against either, honestly. Whatever loses us more games, I'm for.
I hate to put it that way, but that's kind of where we're at. Like, obviously, when we watch these games, Ethan, if this team pulls out a big win against, a team that they shouldn't, like they have in the past 2 seasons against the Nuggets, we're, we're gonna
I'll be
be,
head over heels.
we're gonna be so happy for the guys. But if we're just being completely honest, at this point of the season, like what would be better for the Spurs is getting the highest draft pick possible. But to just go back to that backup rotation, the one other thing that I would just throw out there, I don't think this is going to happen, but just since we're a Spurs podcast and we can talk about it, I would be down with maybe even like moving Julian to the starting lineup and
Mm,
moving Devin down. So that would be CP3, Steph, Julian, and if you want to throw Jeremy in there, and Julian could kind of offset the shooting, and Bismack. But I had Harrison here, so I'll just leave it at that.
mm,
But if you wanted to have Blake, Devin, Keldon, Jeremy, um, anyways, I think if you switch Devin and Julian, I
mhm.
think because you have Steph in the starting lineup, there's still that creating. And obviously, we've seen what Julian can be in the starting lineup. And then, with that same conversation we've been having about Devin, we can kind of maybe see him flourish a little more in that second unit. But granted, Keldon's really been taking a lot of shots and making a lot of shots recently. So that's
Yes.
also another factor.
Only other thing I'll say, first of all, I agree with everything that you just said, but only other alternative I will say, if it's truly about losing and finding, or trying to figure out who's going to be on the team long term, let's throw out off the bench Blake Wesley and Malachi
Yep.
Branham. And then if it's Devin, then Devin, or if it's Stefan, then Stefan, but then Keldon at the 4 again, like he used to be, and then Mamu at the 5.
Yeah.
And
If we're going for that, I'm with you.
and low key, my guy Jordan McLaughlin played real well in 6 minutes against the Timberwolves in those and garbage time. Like throw him out there
Look,
too. Might as well.
the Harrison Ingram, Jordan
Oh,
McLaughlin two-man game
is
will
Harrison Ingram
solve
healthy?
everything. Yeah, he played the other night. He had like 12 points, 11 boards.
In all seriousness, then bring him on. Let him be the backup 4. Like why
Hey,
not?
you know what I didn't think about too? This is the time where we started playing all the two-way guys.
Bring up Riley Minix too. Like
Well, he's
let's.
out for the season.
Oh right, yeah, I forgot.
David Duke Jr. again.
Volume shooter.
He's coming back in March and April. You're going to see a 15-point game.
Absolute microwave that he is.
Okay. This is the last thing I'll say on the lineups. Charles Bassey was a game time decision last night. Maybe we see him out there. That's the last thing I'll say. Now, if he comes back out, how long he's out there, Charles, I hope you're healthy for the rest of your career if you ever see
Right.
this. But how long he's out there, I don't know. But you could maybe see him again.
I wouldn't be against that either.
There you go. Any final thoughts on these potential rotations, Ethan?
I think that there are a million possibilities, and honestly, we'll probably see every single one of them by the time the season's over.
I completely agree. That's about how it's been the past 2 years. And essentially, we're setting ourselves up for the same thing. So
Best time of year, baby.